Okay, folks, we are now going to embark upon the collection, part 10. But before I start with part 10, I would like to go back and go over Lucretius Titus Carus. Um, he was a Roman, and he lived during the first century BC. And he was a student of Democritus and some of the other Ionian or pre-Socratic materialists. And that's where he basically took a lot of his materialism. But he wasn't a slavish follower of them. He had some of his own concepts and stuff. So just wanted to add some more depth to that. And so let's continue with Heine. Great man, died in Paris on the Lazarus bed, all that. We got a nice penguin volume of the Harz Journey and selected prose. And this collection is really outstanding because you get to see the range of Heine. He was not only a poet, but he wrote works. He wrote a long essay on the religion and philosophy in Germany, which is excellent. There's a little thing that he does with the town of Lucca when he went to the Italy, and he also the Harz Journey itself is an excellent journey, and there's some poetry in it. And he was a good writer, and his memoirs are pretty interesting too. But the Religion and Philosophy in Germany text is very good. It's a very good assessment of German idealism and a little bit of materialism, and also how religion was intertwined in it, especially regarding Hegel. He once, I think there's a famous retort. He was taught. He was at a dinner party in Berlin, and Hegel was there, and they stepped outside, and it was night, and they looked up at the stars, and Heine said some beautiful line and stuff. And Hegel said something back to him like, "Do you think those stars up above really care about you?" Yeah, that's the essence of what he said. He said it in a little bit more colder fashion. Okay, next up is another really book that I really like. It's a small book, Heinrich Heine, Bittersweet Poems. And this is a really nice hardbound small edition. It's in English, but all the titles are in German. It's a Peter Popper Press edition. I think it was printed in 1956, if I'm not mistaken. Here's the opening, translated by Joseph Auslander, Peter Popper Press, Mount Vernon, New York. Anybody who's ever been there? Yeah, 1956. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, this is a charming little book, and I really like it. And the poems are the book is aptly titled because a lot of the poems are bittersweet about the pangs of love and gazing upon a woman that is untouchable and such. Really great stuff. Okay, next up is a classic, truly a classic, an ancient classic. The Odyssey, Odysseus, Homer, coming back from Troy and to rescue his wife and to go through all these adventures and Calypso, Telemachus, and then the battle in the hall and all that stuff. Really, really neat adventure stuff. And Homer really knows how to weave this epic stuff and make it entertaining. And there's some comedy in here too, some funny stuff too. Really highly recommended. Okay, next up is a book that's quite a trip. It's William James, The Varieties of Religious Experience, where he uses his own psychological views and his theories to examine and go over the different types and the many types of religious experience. this is not a critical work. It's just a work of analyzing and explaining, like the value of saintliness, mysticism, saintliness, conversion, the sick soul, healthy mind, the religion of healthy mindedness, all this other stuff. It's a very wide ranging view of all types of religion, of religious belief, and it's an excellent book. It's really well done, and I can't tell you how enjoyable this book is. It's really neat. It gives you a total overview, and not in an historical sense, but in a I guess I would say a psychological sense. He's not diagnosing anything about what religious believers are and who they are and what makes them tick. It's more the nature of the religions themselves and some of the things they stress and all that. It's in no way a polemical work against religion. It's not even near that. It's a psychological examination of religious experiences. Basically, the varieties of religious experiences. It's in the title. It's a very interesting and engrossing work, and I highly recommend it for anyone. Even if you're an atheist, you'll enjoy the book. Trust me. Theist, atheist, anybody. It's not in any way, a polemic. Okay, this is an excellent book by Franco Moretti, The Bourgeois, Between History and Literature. This is an overview of bourgeois values and how they are inculcated into novels, either critically or, uncritically, and how capitalism and the creation of the bourgeois class basically was a bulwark of much of starting in probably the 18th century into the 19th and on, and how it has shaped his literature. It's a really excellent book. And it's, you would think it would be really arcane and all this, but it's not. Moretti writes in a very agreeable and amenable style he's not throwing big words together. It's not even remotely near anything like reading Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit, which is a great book, but it's, there's a lot of forestry to get through. Okay, here's a book by a poor man who was never recognized during his life as a writer, and he wrote for himself and his friends, and this is called Belchamber by Howard Sturgis. And of course, one of his biggest fans happened to be a guy that I mentioned up here, Ian Forster. This is a rather sad book because it mirrors Sturgis's life, because it's about a man who is fastidious and has his own ways, and he's often looked down upon and mocked by other people, and yet he's a very serious man. And it's sort of like an understated tragic work, because the main character is a tragic character, though in the book it's styled as humor. The humor again is kind of caustic, and it makes you understand that the main character, though seemingly unbothered by the treatment he withstands, and others see it as humor, it's rather sad, and it's mistreatment. It's an excellent book, an excellent character study of multiple characters engaging with each other. An excellent book. Next up is a classic. Some say it's the best Henry James book. And I can't really argue against that. But I have my own favorite of his, and it's, of course, The Golden Bowl. But Ambassadors is great work. Lambert Strother and his forays into France, mostly Paris, some call this the Henry James's Parisian novel. But it's excellent. It's an excellent book. It really is. James is a stylist. I mean, he really, some people would say, "Oh, he's so lofty and all this and da 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 da." No, he wrote to be read by everyone. There's nothing arcane in his works. He just tells stories, and yes, he has a sort of a style. He's a stylist, but it doesn't diminish the power of his stories, in my opinion. And that's all I'm going to say about The Ambassadors and Henry James, which The Ambassadors is a great book. All right, next up is a collection of great Spanish stories, as the title says, going all the way from the late 19th century into the early 19th, including World War I stories. You have some great Spanish authors in this, like I can't think of them now, like Alarcón, Galdós, Benito Perez Galdós, great novelists. You have Leopoldo Alas, you have Valle Inclán, Ayala, Unamuno, who was also wrote some religious and philosophical works. Sela, and some others. It's a really good collection. I recommend it. Okay, next up is an ancient. Well, it looks ancient because it's kind of damaged, but it's an Everyman edition of Milton's collected prose works, and as well as Milton wrote poetry. Great, I would say, as great as he wrote it. He could write prose, and he could write it very well. This edition is in 1927. Of course, it got Areopagitica, Reformation in England, Apology for Smectymnus, Establishment of the Doctrine of Divorce, Divine Justice, Meditations upon Divine Justice. Milton was a very deeply religious man. Deeply, very, very, very deeply religious man. And that did not hurt in any way his work, his output. Okay, next up is one of I love this book. And I'm glad I got it. I found it in a used bookstore. And I am so happy I found it. It's the Iliad, Homer's Iliad, translated by Alexander Pope. So, of course, we get the rhyme scheme that Pope was, very happy to be, couplets all the way through. And I really like this edition of Pope. And here we go. And this is one of the things I like. The people who had this, or maybe had this well before me, it was a gift for maybe Gary, to A.B. Gary from J.F. Murray, Christmas 1901. So this book was gifted to a person in 1901. It's in fairly excellent condition, except for this first page here, some whatever, but the pages are in great condition. And here you have a frontispiece, which with a portrait of Homer right here. Okay. And come on. And the introduction is excellent. And then you have the preface from the Pope's original preface to the work, which is a valuable document. And then you have the bulk of the work, which is voluminous, and it is a treasure. Pope, I like Pope. I really do. Rape of the Lock and all those others. Pope was an outstanding poet. He was a brilliant man, and his translation of the Iliad is great. All right, next up is a book, and I still have the price tag on it, but that's not the price tag. That was, I just left it on there. I didn't want to tear it off because it would just damage it even more. But Before Philosophy, Henry Frankfurt, Mrs. H.A. Frankfurt, John A. Wilson, and Thorkild Jacobson. And this is a book about how, the cosmos, the state values of life, nature of the universe, stuff like that, myth and reality, and how myths and stuff prefigured, the world of mythology basically prefigured philosophy. And this is an excellent book. It's very good. Everywhere from Egypt, Mesopotamia to Greeks, and basically the emergence of Greek philosophy all stem from Sumerian and Egyptian sources. This is well known in scholastic circles, and even I think a lot of people in laymen know about it too. Anybody who's taken a philosophy course would know. Okay, next up, Livy, Roman in the Mediterranean. The last piece of work we have from him, of his great history of Rome from the foundation to the end, and this is the volume 3. And this goes from 59 this goes from 218 BC to 201. Goes, the defeat of Hannibal in the Second Punic War. Goes into the post-Alexandrian wars, the Macedonian wars, and stuff like that. It's really good. Livy really knows how to write entertaining history, and it's history too. He presents all the data, but he also makes it come to life. He's a really great historian. Titus Livius. I think that's his name. Yes, it is. Titus Livius, yes. My memory does not fail me. Okay, next up is another excellent book. And a historical, this one isn't as historical as much as another. This is a novel by Primo Levi, or Levi. The Monkey's Wrench, like the shot here. And it's a very funny novel, the work of art and storytelling, and it's really an interesting book. Primo Levi was an excellent writer. No matter what you get, even if it's the subject matter dealing with the Holocaust and stuff like that, it's always going to be good. He's a great writer, very entertaining, and engrossing. You tend to get into the book. Okay, next up is Edmund Burke's great A Philosophical Inquiry. And his philosophical inquiry is into the origins of our ideas of the sublime and beautiful. And this is a seminal work on aesthetics. And a lot of people have read this book. Now, I don't say that I would agree with everything in this book, but I could tell you that it's very well argued and written, and there's a lot of food for thought in this book. And it's also pleasantly short. It's not long-winded. He gets right to the point, which is admirable. It's easy to be prolix when you write. It's easy to go on and on and on, just like I'm doing right now. Okay, next up is a great collection of letters by the Horace Walpole. Yes, that man right there. Portrait of him. And Horace Walpole wrote excellent letters to some of the big figures, and the nobles and a lot of people in power, writers. There wasn't anybody that he wasn't. He was very connected, and these letters are very interesting. And during the time when he lived, I believe it was the 18th century. Yeah. He was born in 1718. So made an oral, and he was pretty much friends with everybody that meant anything in that society. Okay, next up, and this is going to be the last. I'm gonna go two more, and then I'm gonna stop. For your sake, folks. For your sake. Okay, this is a book called Aphrodite. Hey, wait. There we go. Aphrodite by Pierre Louis, and it's a very good book. There's a lot of poetry in it. It's of course heavy in the Greek myths. And oh, hey, wait a minute, I got something in here. Oh yeah, it's a postcard from Toronto from a friend of mine. And look at that writing. And she called Monsieur David. I carefully took this postcard. And it's from Love Vivienne. Oh, Vivienne was great. She was a wonderful, wonderful lady. And this book, Pierre Louis Aphrodite, is very good, very fun, and I recommend it. Don't have much more to say about it. I read it. And like wine, it went to my head. I had a hangover, and then I forgot most of it. Okay, now this book I have not forgotten, and it made an incredible impression upon me. It's Alessandro Manzoni's The Betrothed. The story of two lovers in, I believe, 17th century Italy. Every instance tries to tear them apart, and there's a great man who's in love with the girl. And I think I can't remember the two main characters. Lucia and Renzo. Renzo is the guy, and Lucia is the woman, the young lady. Pardon. And it's a big book, but man, did I read this quick. It's a page turner, and it's so well written, and it's such a beautiful novel. It is one of the best novels ever written. I mean, I know I said I said it a lot about many of the books, but really, The Betrothed by Manzoni is just an outstanding novel of love that is about how two lovers, through sheer willpower, overcome so many obstacles. They overcome a very wealthy man who actually abducts her and tries to keep her in confinement because he knows she's in love with Renzo, and she ultimately escapes. Then you got the plague that happens in Milan, I believe, and it's just an outstanding novel. I remember reading this work, and it was just such an emotional experience. But you always knew that at the end there would be the sun would shine and everything would be happy. Okay, and this is the last one. Vierre de l'Île Adam, The Cruel Tales. And these are what they say they are. They are tales that do not have wholesome endings or wholesome, happenings within them. And they're very good and very arch, and I wouldn't. They're not cynical as much as they are misanthropic, and they're excellent. Okay, last up, and I will end it here. Seneca, Dialogues and Letters, and this is a very short book. His essays at the back, like on the shortness of life, and on the tranquility of mind, and consolation to Helvia, who is his wife, are very, very nice works. The other letters are pretty good in the back too. They're pretty short and stuff. They're not as important though as the dialogues. I mean the essays. And that's it for today. I'd like to talk more about Seneca and his stoicism and how he was kind of a hypocrite as a courtier to Nero and somewhat to Claudius, because Claudius did hire him as a tutor to Nero. And that will be all for today, folks. Thanks for your patience with my stuttering and all that other stuff. And I hope you all have a fine day.